what does gutsy mean to you?
Gutsy means to me the courage to embrace your authenticity.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm LauraAura, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. Have you ever felt something in your body that knows the truth, even when your brain can't make sense of it or isn't ready to say it out loud? In today's episode, I'm joined by intuitive energy practitioner Alice Nova, and we're talking about what it means to release the old, to let go of the patterns, the stories, and the energy that no longer serve you, so that you can finally hear what's true again. We dig into things like nervous system regulation, emotional processing, and how resistance is often just protection in disguise. If you have been circling change or feeling stuck in an energetic loop, this episode is going to shift something in you. Alice is a former marketing and product development executive who followed a deeper calling into the realms of energy, consciousness, and personal evolution. Today, she's an energy healer, intuitive guide, and creator of the Key Code Design Method, a multidimensional modality born from her own journey of healing and remembrance. Alice works with conscious leaders, creatives, and visionaries to help them reconnect with their original design, clear energetic blocks, and fully embody their gifts. Blending energy work, quantum healing, and expanded consciousness, her work bridges the seen and the unseen to support deep alignment, clarity, and personal evolution. If you've got moves you've been wanting to make and energy is your jam, you are going to love this episode. Something I really love about this episode is how we're talking about nervous system regulation, which comes back to the body, and how when we stop, even just for a moment, to recognize it, we build trust within ourselves. We let our minds and our bodies know that, hey, I'm here, I hear you, and this time I'm willing to listen. Let's get into it. Hello, Alice. Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, likewise. This is such a fascinating topic that I have a lot of personal interest in, but I think is just going to be really exciting and really eye-opening to our listeners. Tell me a little bit about what has led you to this work, though. I know you had a past before this, some work before this. What was that journey like? What led you to where you are right now?
So I had a pretty conventional life before that. And what led me to on the new path, what I would call, is a very dark time in my life where I was faced with yet another miscarriage. And at that time, I also had a very deep knowing that even if I tried one more time, different ways, that it would not work. I just had that epiphany, that deep inner knowing that that was not my path. And that started dissolving the old identity, because my life was built on the premise of you need to get a good career, you need to start a family, and family in the traditional sense wasn't there for me. I couldn't make it happen, so to speak. And so then I started asking myself, what's the purpose of my life, really? And that required me to go for the first time into myself and really facing myself and the pain, the traumas, all the aspects of myself, slowly but surely. And as I started doing that, I started unlocking certain abilities that I wasn't familiar with. I started seeing things, meaning seeing colors, seeing different shapes, different patterns, not all the time, but under certain circumstances. And I didn't know what was going on. And I also, for the first time in my life, started meditating, which before in my prior life, my head was so busy all the time, and I was proud, claiming that meditation is not for me, that I cannot make myself meditate. And so I really started meditating, but meditation was not for me to sit down and meditate, but to go on a walk and not to listen to anything, not to talk to anyone, but just be with myself and be present with what is actually unfolding in my head.
Hmm.
So as those things started coming online, on top of that, my arms would start moving in a way that I didn't know what I was doing or what the arms were doing, but it was so natural as breathing. I knew that I did that sometime when I didn't know when. So as all that started unfolding in my life, I realized that I am really peeking into the realm of energy, and that I needed to understand it to be able to not only learn what I am seeing, what my arms are doing, but also what are the laws, what, or the principles of that world, because no one teaches us that. And as you find yourself in that realm, it can get confusing. And so I hired an energy teacher, or person who is a psychic who works with energy. And we embarked together on a 3-year journey where I was learning what the different aspects of energy are, of energy world are, how our systems are built energetically. And all of that started coming to me. And it's not that he was teaching me as a lecture, it was through my own inner work and my own experience that I started understanding it. And it became this lived experience that it's not taught by someone outside of you. So he was there for me to really just hold the container and help me navigate it. So I don't get lost, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is as a guide to help steer, to help you know what to tap into and how to tap into it. I mean, that's the power of a great guide, of a great mentor, of a great coach, is to hold the container, not to tell you what to do, but to help you figure out how to do it yourself.
Exactly. So that's what that was a person that I worked with for a long time, and then there was a time to go and find a new mentor, right? Because we there is a growth in our life, and I believe that we all the meaning of life is really to have different experiences and to grow. It's not to stagnate. It's when we start stagnating that life starts being hard usually.
Absolutely. Life, the universe, energies has a way of moving us along if we are not taking action when it's time to do it, doesn't it? You mentioned that you had this deep inner knowing, this feeling that what you were doing was no longer for you. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what that felt like for you? And something we talk about a lot here on the Gutsy podcast and in all of my containers is trusting yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious what that experience was like for you, and maybe we can just touch on what it's like to trust yourself.
It has evolved. And when it started first, when I knew that having children was not for me, is that I was fighting it hard. I didn't want to accept it. But everything that I tried, I was sensing that there was something not right. And even though at that time I wouldn't call it intuition, but I think that we all have it. Like we all are intuitive people. It just depends how much we are willing and allowing ourselves to trust ourselves. Exactly. And sometimes that voice is very quiet because we don't listen to it, and we prefer to have opinions of others guiding our life because it's easier, right? Then we have someone to blame.
Yes.
And so I've been also very analytical person. And so I started really looking at it from that perspective that I am trying all the different things that might led me to the desired outcome, which was a child, um, but that nothing felt really good. Like it started feeling like trying to push through a brick wall. And so I started analyzing with why is that? And the voice started being louder and louder and was like, yeah, that's not for you. You are trying to belong where you do not belong.
Hmm.
And so then I started asking myself, where do I belong? What's mine to do? And I didn't have any expectations. I didn't have any clue what that was. But I was willing to go explore the path because I knew that the old path was, I would be miserable.
Yeah. What does exploring the path look like? Because and I know that's not a singular answer, but I know we hear that a lot, like be open, be curious, explore things. In action, what does that kind of look like? Or what are some things that people can do when they're starting to approach or realize that, hey, maybe there's a shift happening or I'm ready for something different?
I would say that the first thing that needed to happen for me, and I'm gonna talk about my experience and also the experience that I now can see in my practice when I work with people. The first thing that needs to happen is to get honest with yourself. Not, you don't have to tell anyone, but internally be honest with yourself and where you at, and that that you know that the path that you are on is not the right one, and there is something new emerging, and it's usually scary, right? Because we are stepping into something that we don't know. But and then kind of take the action. That it's the step number two. And by action, I don't mean those big leaps. It's what we can do every day, how we can make ourselves feel better every day, because our feelings, our emotions are actually the barometer of where we are. And if we can start shifting that how we feel, and it's usually because we are starting to introduce something new, some new practice, something new into our life, that it's shifting the energy, that it's actually shifting our direction and aligning us with the new path. And it's not easy. It can be easy, but for most of us, it's not easy because we are resisting it,
Yeah.
because we are trying to convince ourselves that the old path is not as bad, and we find safety in it. Even though we are miserable, we are unhappy, and we know that it's not where we are supposed to stay. However, there is usually a period that each of us humans have to kind of fully detach from the old and let ourselves explore the new. Um, and then once we lose the grip and we let go the resistance, it all starts flowing. And um, yeah, but it really starts with honesty and taking small actions to start changing and shifting our behavior and how we feel.
Yeah. I love that you brought up resistance here too. I mean, being honest with yourself, non-negotiable step. We have to be honest with ourselves. And I love that you also pointed out that you don't have to tell anybody, that you don't have to do it all today. You don't have to, turn your whole world inside out and upside down. But if you're not honest with yourself, you're going to continue to repeat things that are trying to release or that are trying to move, beyond. So I think that that was a really important thing that you brought up, but also this part about resistance. And you had shared with me previously that discomfort around change isn't resistance, but an act of protection.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about resistance as an act of protection.
So, we usually, our life is guided by a set of beliefs that we have. And when we go into resistance, it's usually held by a certain belief that even though we feel unhappy, we are not well, whatever it is, it's the known world to us, known environment, and even though it's not the best, we are feeling safe in it because our nervous system, even though it's dysregulated, feels certain amount of safety there. And making the change feels like feels dangerous, feels unsafe, because we are stepping into big unknown for us, for our belief system, for our nervous system. So that's why I always say that no matter what we do, we need to make sure that we are bringing our nervous system with us intact.
Hmm.
And that's why listening to our body, listening to our nervous system is so important, and not to override it, because then we usually crash. And that's
Okay.
why small steps are so important. In my previous career, I was a product designer. And so behavioral science was part of my profession. And if we were introducing a new product to the market, we knew that we need to work with how human behaviors work, and that introducing a big change usually takes a long time for the adoption of the product by consumers. So, and this is the same with our nervous system, with us. We are no different.
So really the small steps is self-regulation and nervous system work.
It is.
I mean, it's showing our bodies that, hey, it's okay that there's a new way. It's showing our energy that that this is safe, that
Mhm.
there's another outcome, that, oh, hey, that wasn't so bad, right? It's all these little micro moments. When we're talking about making gutsy moves or making big changes in life, we often think about that end goal, making that ultimate move.
Mhm.
But it's really the series of little moves that lead up to it that create that safety, that create that newness within ourselves, that open us up to new opportunities, that ultimately lead to the bigger change.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. We often are scared because we see the end goal, the vision that we are holding for ourselves, right? Or sometimes there is no vision, which is even worse, that we don't know where we are going. We just know that we need to shift something because where we are, it's not working for us. And just trusting ourselves that the vision will unfold, and or that we need to get to that vision, that it's not going to happen overnight, that we are not going to flip our lives upside down,
Mm.
because that just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's why, I mean, this works for some people, okay, a little caveat there, but it's why, like, quitting things cold turkey often does not work. It's why making rash change overnight doesn't typically stick. Again, it can for the right people, but for the most part, it's too harsh of a change too quick.
Yeah, and we all are different. And so I would also invite everyone to get attuned to themselves, as opposed to having this poster children. They're like, oh, he did it in that way, so I need to do this way. It's I would invite everybody to follow their own path, because it will unveil itself, and it will be aligned with who they are and what they are here to do.
I know that you had a big shift with this. I can speak from personal experience too. Is when you stop trying to do things the way that everyone else is, or the way that other people are formulated, or what naturally works for them. We see what's working for other people, and we're like, oh, it's working for them, so therefore I should follow that path. And then we get frustrated with ourselves when it's not working, because surprise, it's not our path, it's not our way of working, it's not our energy system.
That's exactly it. And I have fallen into that trap myself a few times, and you learn by that. And it's not about there isn't. I don't see that as a mistake. I see it as my learning path, where I needed to fall into that belief again that someone else knows better, or that it's a proven formula, therefore it has to work for me too, to be able to kind of release the belief that someone else outside of me knows better what's good for me or how I should do things. And instead going really inwards, and looking for the path and the way that way. But it also doesn't mean that I don't get inspired by other people, what other people are doing, right? It's not black and white, because we sometimes have this black and white as either or this or that. And I believe that it's more about kind of finding your own way, and the inspiration will come through other people, through other path, whatever it is.
Is there a way that you can tell, or maybe guide the listener to be able to tell when they, maybe the difference between when they're inspired by the way someone's doing something versus feeling like they need to follow what someone else is doing? Like, how do you know the inspiration versus the I have to do it this way?
I would say that the first indicator for me would be whether they are following the formula of someone else to a T, whether they believe that they need to do it exactly the way, and then there is going to be no result. As opposed to when we are inspired, we are more looking at it not as the truth, and we are attuning into, okay, this doesn't feel right, and maybe it can be done that way, because then your own inspiration will start coming up, as opposed to you taking the blueprint of this is how it's done, this is how you should do it, it worked for me, um, and then we go and copy pasted it. Once you start copy pasting everything, then you know that you are following. It's not an inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer, by the way. That's a really great answer. Because it feels easier sometimes to just take the blueprint and roll with it. So
Yes.
somebody else has already figured it out. I don't have to do all that work, but it turns off a huge part of our system individually, of remembering who we are and paying attention to our body and its cues and following what I call the breadcrumbs, right? Like, I think that your higher self and the energy is always guiding you to the next thing, but we get off track by, well, my that doesn't seem real or right for me. I'm going to just do what they tell me to do, or I'm going to follow what they're doing.
Yeah, and we are also turning off our creativity,
Yeah.
and we are creators. And so, even though some people would say, "Well, I'm not creator," yes, you are. We are creating our life experience, and when we start following, whether it's a formula of how to gain followers on social media, or whether it's whatever it is, whether we start following someone else's path, as the right path for us, we are turning our creativity off and we are giving power to someone else.
A woman recently joined Auraline based off of one statement on my website. And that statement says, "I'm here to help you get out of your own way, get clear on what you actually want, simplify the shit out of your next steps, and build the confidence to make the gutsy moves to change your life." The women that join Auraline are not new to change, and they're not new to success, but they are new to this next chapter. Each one of them is either at a pivot point in their career, a growth point in their business, or realizing there are some fundamental shifts that I have to make in order to achieve the level of success that I know that I'm capable of. So guess what we're doing inside of Auraline? Everything that's in that statement, helping you get out of your own way, the overthinking, the overcomplication, getting clear on the things that you actually want, stripping away all of the distractions so that you can focus on the things that matter. Simplifying the shit out of your next steps. It doesn't need to be big and complicated, and you don't need to know all the steps to move. And that confidence piece, it comes from making the gutsy moves, not waiting for everything to be perfect in order to start. If you are over walking around in circles and beating your head up against the wall and you're saying, "I am ready, can someone please just help me figure out how?" then Auraline is for you. I keep the space small so we can stay focused. So if you want to grab one of the few seats I have available, go to LauraAura.com/mastermind to start your enrollment today. When really we want to tap back into the power that we already have.
Exactly. Yes.
I think a lot of people walk around thinking that they don't have the power, that it's an external source that I think about things like validation from others and approval from others and societal expectations and all this. And I think it's easy to feel powerless,
Yes.
especially when you're in a season of change, because, this is new, this is different. I need the buy-in from other things and people, but our bodies are always communicating.
Always. And what I would say here is what I did. I surrounded myself with a small group of friends that I trusted. And sometimes we need this external validation that helps us to start on the path, right? Or to be with us. But the ultimate goal is to not rely on that. But again, as we were mentioning before, if you live in a world or your life is dependent on validation of others because you feel so disempowered, completely cut it off doesn't work either.
Yeah.
That doesn't bring the power up. It's really about surrounding yourself with friends, with trusted people. It doesn't have to be many of them. I had two.
Yeah.
That were not yes, ma'am, but at the same time, they were able to lift me up and provided that validation that I was doing good, that I am on the right path, and yes, I am going through a rough patch, but yeah, that's what I would say.
I'm gonna highlight and circle and star the word trusted people.
Yes.
I love that you pointed out that they weren't yes people, right? They weren't just stroking your ego or telling you what you wanted to hear, but they were close enough to you to understand you, to maybe see the vision with you, to challenge you maybe in healthy ways, but also to support you in a time of need. That's a totally different form of validation than saying, I need you to give me approval.
Exactly. Or I need you to tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
They were not there to tell me what I needed to do. But sometimes when we are healing the the pattern of relying on external validation where we are so disempowered through different life experiences, whatever the experiences might be. We need sometimes a mirror, someone who is going to tell us, well, you are actually doing better than you think, than you.
Yeah.
And because I can see it, I can observe it from the outside. And I am not here to tell you that because I want to boost your ego or any of that. But sometimes we need it. But it really, you need to be careful who you are surrounded yourself with, and that you trust those people. You trust that they are not going to betray you,
Yeah.
or they're not gonna, and you know them, that there needs to be that bond.
Yeah. And you're so right. You don't need a ton. You don't need a whole room full. A few good trusted people in your world. And if you don't currently have those people in your world, there are spaces and communities and places that you can find those people. If you are looking for those people, they are out there. But it doesn't take a ton. And I think a really important part about this is being very mindful about who you're sharing your goals and your aspirations and the inside stuff with, because the wrong people, or the misaligned people, I'll say, in these scenarios, they can feed your insecurities, they can feed your doubt, they can project their own worries onto you. Well, how are you going to do this? What are you going to do? And then that feeds into your ecosystem, which throws you out of your energy, and then you're not hearing yourself. It's a domino effect in either direction. So just one of the many reasons it's important to know who your people are.
Yeah, and I would also encourage, if there is someone listening and they are like, but I don't know who those people are in my life, to be open to new people coming and holding that intention. Because for me, one of those friends were not a long-time friend. It was rather a new friend that through that through that journey, we became even closer. But it wasn't someone that I've known for 10 years.
Yeah. See, again, that's staying open though.
That
That this is, I know that this is the base of your work, so duh here, but it's really about energy.
it is.
It's really about energy. And I know that you're working with a lot of leaders to master their energy. You're working with a lot of driven people to master their energy. What does it look like to master your energy?
So it means essentially to step out of the patterns that are no longer serving you.
Mm,
Because our energy system is based on different beliefs we hold. And those beliefs are shaped in unique patterns that each of us have different. And some patterns are very beneficial to us up certain point. And because life is about flow, about growth, about movement, there comes a time where certain patterns are starting to be obstacle for us, as opposed to the thing that helps us. So, and it's a lot of that is locked in our subconscious. And with the newborn abilities or skills that started to unlock on my own path, I am bringing that skill to the table when I help people to really pull that energetically, see it, how the pattern has been created, what created that pattern, and then help them release it. And it's a journey where I guide them also how to then take aligned action in their life so they can start creating a new pattern that they want, that will lead them to what they want to create, what they want to manifest in their life.
are there any frequent patterns that you see?
Well, there are the basics, right? That we covered is the pattern of that change is dangerous. That there is a lot of about abundance that we are and about and around scarcity. We hold a lot of scarcity imprints and beliefs about that there is not enough for everyone. And therefore we need to compete, we need to feel better than. And that's what it's a cover up for imposter syndrome, where we feel less than, so we are trying to push through it. That those are very common patterns, those basics, and then we can go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Okay. And what does going deeper look like? Like how would one start to unravel that and break that pattern?
The energy always guides us. And the way that I am seeing the energy field, it's always guided by the intention of the person that I work with. And based on that intention, I start to see the pattern of different energies. I don't necessarily know what it is at the first glance, and I'm being guided one point after another to see what the energy is, what the blockage is, what is encoded in that energy, because energy holds information. And for many people, energy is something that is not tangible. But if we start thinking that our thoughts and our emotions are just form of energy, it starts being real. Because we cannot take a thought and put it and sit next to it, right? It's not something that we can hold physically in our head, but it's so alive in our field. The same is emotion. And sometimes when we feel down or when we feel joy, those are two different spectrums, right? And we can be two people in the same room feeling completely different emotions, having completely different thoughts.
Yeah. Energy is so cool. It's
How did I know it? I am big fan.
you're a big fan. Yeah, it's it really comes down to you when you start working with yourself instead of against it.
Yes.
When you get to know the feelings that you're experiencing versus making them mean something.
Yes.
It's just so much. And I like how, taking these thoughts and these feelings that you're having, and like those are energies. And
Yeah.
guess what? Energy can grow, it can decrease, and it can move.
And it can be transmuted.
Ooh, tell me about that.
It can be shifted, right? Because when we release the grip, when we release the charge, the emotional charge that certain energy has, let's say that you hold certain thought. And that thought is anytime it comes up in your head, in your mind, it triggers you because it reminds you of certain either people or experience. And sometimes you don't even know that it reminds you about that. But you just know that you get triggered, that your nervous system gets on high alert, or you get angry, or there is some sort of emotional response. And but when we actually release the charge, when we release the seed of that charge, meaning that event that happened that started triggering that energy, then that energy can be transmuted back into light, into something that into neutral state that you can then bring as part of your energy system and create something new from it.
Wow. Are you able to walk us through an exercise or maybe guide us on how to release the charge?
It's it requires a little a little bit of it's longer process for most people because it really is about sitting with it and being neutral to it.
Okay. So
But
maybe that's a first step. How would
how
maybe kind of walk us through if somebody's thinking right now, like, yep, there's a thought that triggers me. There's, if I go there, I know I'm going to feel some kind of way. What are some, what are some gentle first steps that they can take to start to neutralize it?
if there is something like that, my recommendation would be go somewhere to a nature. That is the first step, I would say, because nature can hold you. Nature can support you in that. Find a quiet space and then really bring that thought to your presence. And there might be fear rising, anger rising. There is going to be certain emotional response if there is so much charge. And let yourself feel it. But don't go into the story. Just let yourself feel it. Whether you need to scream, scream. Whether you need to cry, cry. Whether you need to punch something, punch something. And but hold the intention that you are releasing the charge. You are not bringing more energy to the charge, that you are not feeding the story, that it's encoded in the energy, that you are simply, that your intention is to release it. And by moving that energy, that emotion through your body and out, that's it. And it can take a minute, it can take 5 minutes, and it's gone.
I love that exercise. So simple,
That is
very, very doable. And I love this call out of don't feed the story. Because wow, can we go down some paths in our minds? And you think about something that someone said, and then you go, before you know it, you're physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically back in that room, and
exactly.
you're thinking about what you would have said instead, and how they should have done this, and what the room felt like, and before you know it, you're like in a fight in your head. Or there was a sad situation that happened, you go back to that moment, and you're just engulfed by the emotions, by like when we go into those rooms and we start playing the story and we start going into the what ifs and adding all these flavors into it. Gosh, I can feel that in my own body talking about that, how quickly our mind takes us into that energy.
Absolutely. So that's why it's good to imagine that you're facing it, that it's outside of you. And then it will rise through the body, but imagine it as a sphere, as a whatever it is. Um, that is outside of you, that it's not, that you are making separation between that and whatever work. Different things might work for different people, how to imagine that being outside of them, but that starts creating certain separation that is visual, that the body, that the mind can actually say, okay, it's not me, it's outside of me, and now I just need to release the charge.
Got it. Release the charge. We're not feeding into the story. We're setting the intention that we're going to feel what we need to feel to release the charge. And that puts the power back into your hands and away from that thing that was once maybe keeping you stuck in place.
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
love it.
And nature is a great environment to do it, because you can allow yourself to not be controlled or watch what others will think. Just be there by yourself and create that space for yourself to truly process it. And you don't need witnesses for that.
Mm.
Most of us don't.
The earth can be witness of its own, you
And
know?
I would say the nature is going to be the witness. And
Yeah.
and she can hold plenty.
She's a natural transmuter of her own. I mean, this is a whole different topic, but you think about grounding, you think about getting out there, like there is a charge out there. And if or I hear people say, like, tell the trees, let the trees do the work. There is a whole energy field out there. We just sometimes we need to get out of our concrete boxes and
That,
get outside to where that energy is naturally flowing.
yeah, that's exactly it. And that is an environment that is very supportive of that kind of transformation. Because basically, by doing this very simple exercise or practice, rather, you are healing yourself. You are becoming your own healer. And then you can start tapping into your own intuition. Your intuition will start being louder and louder, because your mind will get quieter and quieter. There's not going to be a war going on inside of your head. Rather, you will have seniority over what is playing out in your head, as opposed to being a victim to it.
That is powerful. You become the creator. You become your intuition gets stronger because you're not holding on to all these charges.
Because you can hear for the first time.
Yeah.
And because you can hear and you know that it's coming from you, you start trusting yourself. And that also requires small steps, right? And start playing with it. I would invite everyone who is doing any kind of transformational work, or any inner healing, however we call it, to bring as much play into it, because it will also help. It will take the heaviness of certain charges and make them less triggering, less heavy.
Yeah, we stopped playing somewhere along the way, and it it's an energy charge of its own, but in a great way.
Yes,
When you're just free spirited. I mean, remember back when we were little kids,
I know.
when we were just running around and carefree. And sure, yes, we have different roles and responsibilities now, but that doesn't mean that we can't invite play to be a part of those things. We just like shut the door on it one day and said, okay, we're done with that.
That's very true. And I am also very aware that for some people, play might not be even an option, because I was there where play wasn't even an option. But it will become, if you take the steps, if you are willing to witness yourself and all of that you are, not only the good that we want to see, but also the parts of us that we are maybe not so proud of, or that we want to shut down, then play will enter your life again, and lightness will be introduced to your life in a way that will feel almost magical.
Hmm. As you're saying that, I'm having this remembering of my own that I'm like, I think play starts to return when the work is working, when the healing has healed, when the things you were working to shift have shifted. I think that those things that part of you starts to come back online.
Absolutely. And then when new things will show up in your life that might not be joyous or light, you will start moving through them in completely different way, because you will start having the tools. You will know that it's not here to haunt you, but it's here to help clear the way and maybe show where the path needs to lead.
Yeah. Alice, my friend, I adore the work that you do and the energy that you bring. And I want to make sure that everyone knows where to connect with you more. So, what's the best place to find you?
The best place is my website. It's alicenova.com. It's easy. And then I'm quite active on Instagram, and the handle is Alice Nova Energy. Quite simple.
Fantastic. We will link that in the show notes. And I'm curious, what does gutsy mean to you?
Gutsy means to me the courage to embrace your authenticity.
Something I love that Alice reminds us to play. I mean, such an underrated tool that we have at our fingertips. And that doesn't mean we have to go away for a whole day or plan some big elaborate whatever. It just means we have to stop and enjoy shit again. Creativity, curiosity, just exploring. Gosh, it's healing for the mind and the body. Tell me what resonated with you today. What's got you lit up from this episode that you're saying, yep, I'm going to try that next. You can come shoot me a DM. My handle on all the platforms is @thatLauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.